Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. I'm your host, Jonathan Cilia, joined by my co-host, Rochelle, and here are your headlines for today. Bolt CEO gives emotional statement after COURIER dies in NADUR crash. PN leadership due diligence report published in full. University of Malta lectures to be streamed online. Viral video of truck driving through flooded Pembroke Road sparks online discussion, and NOTTE BIANCA is back and will be spread over 2 months. Rochelle, how are we doing this fine morning?
Bonġu Joanina tajba, grazzi, u inti?
I'm good. I can't believe we have another rain story. It's like the rain happened last weekend and it keeps going, but we'll get to that. You want to start with the first story?
Iva. Il-kap eżekuttiv ta' Bolt jagħti dikjarazzjoni emozjonali wara li xufier imut f'ħabta fin-NADUR. It-traġedja seħħet il-braħ fil-għodu f'għawdex fejn COURIER li jaħdem ma' Bolt li jismu Joseph El-Għażali ta' 28 sena inqatel f'din il-ħabta. Il-ħabta kienet tinvolvi il-mutur tiegħu u double decker. Ħafna xufiera tal-Bolt stess taw il-kondoljanzi tagħhom u marru fuq Facebook biex jesprimu d-diżappunt. Tkellem ukoll Sebastian Rippard, il-CEO ta' Bolt ma' Lovin Malta, u indirizza l-kwistjoni tal-aċċidenti bil-muturi f'Malta u saħaq kemm in-nies li suq il-karozzi jridu jkunu iktar konxji tal-muturi fit-toroq tagħna. Li il-muturi jafu jkunu soluzzjoni għal mobilità ta' din il-gżira li hija daqshekk żgħira iżda rridu nkunu iktar aware.
No, this is another big tragedy, and it seems like practically every week or two we're hearing of a car crash, a vehicular crash, or a motorcycle crash in this case. Obviously, delivery services in Malta have really spiked and increased over the last few months, especially since the COVID pandemic started. So it's a big tragedy to see this, but it is good to see that the company's CEO is speaking out. If I'm not mistaken, he's a big fan of motorcycles himself. He even told us things, like every time he hears that there's a crash or a death in the news, his heart stops and he wonders and he thinks about the family. So that's good to know that there's a bit of corporate responsibility there. But guys, whether you're a courier, motorcyclist, car driver, whatever you are, take it easy on the road. It's really, really not worth shaving off 5 seconds off your trip and causing a terrible accident. Moving on to the second story of today, quite an interesting story. Late last night, the due diligence report the PN, the potential leader of the PN, was published yesterday. This is 26 pages, and it looked into some of the questions surrounding Aidan Delia and Bernard Grech. A panel of 3 experts looked into these questions, and if you really look at the breakdown, it's very interesting. So about 10 pages were dedicated to Aidan Delia versus 1 page for Bernard Grech. Now, obviously, Aidan Delia has been in the political scene for much longer, so you expect a bit more due diligence. But when you look into the actual things that they looked into, it's quite interesting. So, of course, long-standing allegations when it comes to Delia, when it comes to him potentially, allegedly channeling illegal earnings from a Soho prostitution ring were mentioned. Also, the very, very recent exchange between Jorgen Fenech and Aidan Delia via WhatsApp, the WhatsApp messages, those were mentioned as well. Even some issues that had cropped up when he was the leader of Birkirkara FC were brought up as well. When it comes to Bernard Grech, they looked into some shortcomings when it comes to his management of client accounts and also his failure to submit tax returns. So you can actually read the report in full on lovinmalta.com. We have a big breakdown on our website. But what's interesting is to see, what the reporters said, the judges themselves said, and they said, quote, politicians should be leading by example and they should be judged at a higher standard.
100%. U hawnhekk fejn tidħol idjoma min ħawat il-borma jkun jaf x'fiha kważi dawk ixfulhom latu. Iżda naħseb li huwa importanti għaliex jiddependi mit-tesserati biex jivvutaw lil min jaħsbu li ħaqhom jirrappreżentahom. U fl-aħħar tal-ġurnata dawn in-nies huma potenzjalment kandidati biex jirrappreżentaw il-pajjiż. Jiġifieri jekk min qed jirrappreżentana lilna mhux qed titina eżempju kif aħna rridu ngħixu ħajjitna jew x'nażlu mit-tajjeb u l-ħażin, fl-aħħar mill-aħħar il-moralità hija importanti anka ħabba allegazzjonijiet u korruzzjoni li rajna dan l-aħħar fil-pajjiż. Jiġifieri step up your game, please, il-politikanti tagħna u aħna li niddeċiedu li nivvutawlhom. Importanti, għaliex mhux biss jirrifletti fuq il-pajjiż tagħna, iżda anke aħna bħala nazzjon, bħala individwu.
I mean, honestly, due diligence reports, they should probably be happening more often, more across the board, and definitely involve much more people because it's very interesting when you actually look down into the details. Moving on to the next story.
Ija, il-lectures tal-Università ta' Malta ħajġu mxandra online. Il-Konsil Studenti Universitarji, il-KSU, qalu li l-lectures ħajkunu online wara laqa li saret ma' Senat tal-Università. Meta jkun possibbli, il-lectures ħajsiru wkoll b'mod fiżikament fil-campus. Madanakollu lectures ta' numru kbir ta' studenti, eżempju li kienu jkunu fil-hall li kienu jinkludu madwar 70 student, dawn ħajsiru kompletament online. Tridu jiġu imħabbra l-linji gwida ħabba il-Covid, ġifiri għadna ma nafu xejn x'ħan għamlu minn ħajibda fit-12 jew fil-bidu ta' Ottubru, u hemm ukoll diskussjonijiet dwar il-graduation biex xorta tiġi ċelebrata iżda ma jkunx hemm riperkussjonijiet ħabba nies li jridu jiċċelebraw. Barra minn hekk, the University of Malta Academic Staff Association qalet li m'hemm l-ebda agreement mal-unions tal-istaff dwar protokolls li ħajjittieħdu la darba jidħlu lura ġol università u l-affarijiet għodhom qegħdin jiġu diskussi.
I mean, this is a really big development, you know. I, like many people in Malta, got my degree at the University of Malta. I never had a lecture online. I can't even imagine what students must be thinking right now. Are they excited? Are they worried? I would like to see how this is going to be implemented and obviously what effect this is going to have on students' studies and their grades. If you're a student yourself, definitely let us know in the comments below. Are you excited for this? Are you looking forward to this? Or are you a bit concerned about it? And even if you're a former student or University of Malta alumni, would you have liked to have online lectures? What about yourself?
Ara, jiena naħseb li napplika l-Università barra lectures għall-esperjenza tal-campus. Eżempju, jiena kont membru fl-Aqda tal-Malti l-Università u dak kollu li ħad f'dawk is-sentejn membru f'din l-għaqda ma stajt noħodhom mill-ebda lecture għax inti tibni bond ma' studenti oħra, ma' letturi oħra u tintaqa' ma' nies u tħeġġeġ nies ikunu interessati, jiġifieri naħseb li mhux biss l-esperjenza tal-edukazzjoni formali, iżda anke dik informali tagħti sustanza kbira l-formazzjoni tal-persuna fl-esperjenza tiegħu fl-università u nħoss li dawn l-affarijiet huma importanti. Iżda iċ-ċirkustanzi huma li huma u kulħadd irid jadatta għal dawn iċ-ċirkustanzi.
No, exactly as you're saying, you know, university is more than just an educational opportunity, it's also a social opportunity. And talking about social opportunities, moving on to our next story. I don't know if you saw this online, but it caused quite a discussion. A viral video from last weekend when the rains hit Malta is really racking up the views. It's racked up about 130,000 views on TikTok, and it shows a driver of a Land Rover making his way through a very flooded main road in Pembroke as 3 or 4 other cars have stalled and are just literally floating in the sea next to him. The Land Rover pushes forward and makes it through the water, but a lot of people were discussing, you know, should he have stopped and turned back? What about if other people were stuck in the cars that he drove past? He caused quite a big tidal wave that literally caused some cars to move around. The driver actually took to Facebook and apologized, saying, you know, I apologize to anyone that was stuck in any cars or any harm that was done. But he said, you know, no one was at risk of dying because the water wasn't that deep. Big discussion, you know. I mean, I don't know what I would have done. I understand, like, if you're driving and it's raining, if you stop, you could stall your car, and then you're just another car stuck on the side of the road like everyone else. On the other hand, it must be quite weird to just push forward. You're seeing other people in their stalled cars, like looking at you. You're moving ahead like a pirate ship, making a tidal wave. What would you have done?
Fil-karozza l-oħra għasna f'x'namel, ma naħseb ir-rott insalib u ninteba' wiċċ fuq.
Quite an experience.
Ma nafx, iżda dan ix-xufier mar ukoll fuq Facebook u xek jikteb apoloġija sewwa, jiena naħseb li l-apoloġija għandha tiġi mill-Ministru tal-Infrastruttura u mhux minna ċittadini li qegħdin ninqabdu f'dan il-kejos ħabba nuqqas ta' pjanar ġo din in-naqra gżira. Jiena ma nafx ħajjiġri meta qalu jridu jagħmlu mina taħt l-art. Kien hemm li jagħmlu l-marsa wkoll isfel immaġina, ma nistax nimmaġina eżatt il-periklu. Nixtieq iktar inħossni ħafna iktar safe pajjiżi anka biex naqdu mal-ewwel storja tal-muturi fl-aħħar mill-aħħar din hija kollha issue ta' infrastruttura. Jiġifieri hemm l-għelieqi mal-ġenb, għandna l-baħar, hemm bżonn li nippjanaw ħafna iktar aħjar biex mhux tagħmel ġurnata maltempata jekk tista' tissejjaħ maltempata u dan il-pajjiż jereq, ma nistgħux kull meta tagħmel naqaxita jieqaf pajjiż.
In fact, no, I mean, like we said, this happened last weekend and we're still talking about it. The roads are still recovering. We did another article just yesterday about Imjar Fields being flooded once again due to a lack of planning of the road works. And it's really strange when you see, just like in the Pembroke video, a road flooded and right next door to it there's a field. It's like, guys, we need to plan this a little bit better, because whether it's from the farmer, whether it's from the authorities, we need to sit down and discuss it, because either way we can't have ships, aka cars, driving through Pembroke.
100% xan nispiċaw nħorġu bil-kajaking kella.
Moving on to the final story of today.
Iva, Notte Bianca sesseħ fuq medda ta' ġimgħat iżda sessir xorta waħda jistħaq il-Ministru tal-Kultura. Minkejja li għandna diversi bars u postijiet magħluqin, diversi restrizzjonijiet, iż-żieda fil-każi tal-COVID, ħajkun hemm tibdiliet kbar, dawn huma mistennija ovvjament għax ma tistax issir kif dan l-avveniment ma jistax isir kif kienet isir qabel, kien ħajsir fi-3 ta' Ottubru, iżda issa ħajkun mifrux fuq diversi ġimgħat f'Ottubru u Novembru minflok f'ġurnata waħda speċifika. Ħajkun hemm diversi wirjiet u performances żgħar matul dawn ix-xarejn biex bekk il-folla għal kulat tkun iżgħar u tkun tista' tinqasam. Il-loġistika ħatkun imħabbra iktar tard dan ix-xahar u l-organizzaturi ħabbru li l-preparazzjonijiet għal Notte Bianca 2020 ħajsiru mal-linji gwida tad-Dipartiment tas-Saħħa li bħalissa għodhom qegħdin jiġu diskussi. Għataw li naqar nifsijina dawn l-aħbarijiet, x'taħseb?
I mean, this is a massive event. Notte Bianca usually gets around 60,000 people walking through Valletta. It's an annual event that families look forward to. I'm sure pretty much everyone in Malta has been at some point or the other. The fact that they're going to split this one-day event over 2 months, so 60 days, they'll be pretty much doing an event every day or two in or around Valletta. I'd love to see how they're planning to do this. They said that crowds will be greatly reduced for events. So once again, it's going to be up to operations to see how they're going to make this happen. But it's going to be very interesting. Like you said, it's going to be happening in October, November. It should have happened on 3rd October. That's usually the date. Now it's going to be spread over the 2 months. But what's interesting to note here is, clubs in Malta still haven't reopened. Events aren't really happening. However, Valletta seems to be still, back on its feet. I went to Valletta quite recently. Straight Street was pumping. There were DJs playing. Restaurants were busy, which was great to see. Obviously, you're seeing staff wearing masks and precautions, but people aren't really wearing masks in the streets, as it should be. Hemm ħafna issues li jiddependi mill-individwu mbagħad fl-aħħar mill-aħħar nifhem li l-avvenimenti jridu jsiru, irridu naddattaw, irridu nitalbu ngħixu b'din il-pandemija sakemm ovvjament ikollna l-vaċċin, iżda fl-aħħar mill-aħħar tiġi minni b'mod individwali lil min għandi d-dar kif jiena ħanaġixxi kemm ħanaħsel idejja. Naħseb jiddependi wkoll mill-individwu kif jinteraġixxi f'dawn is-sitwazzjonijiet. What's interesting to note here is that organizers said that now was the time for bold decisions and bold actions. So I think this is kind of a way of saying, listen, COVID's here. Instead of trying to hide away from it or shy away and cancel everything across the board, we're still going to try and have something happen, at least in a greatly reduced format. I think that brings us to the end of today's show. From myself and Rochelle, have a day full of lovin'.